I'm going to start by talking about how we can use Conductor as an integration platform. And as soon as Virani will join, we'll switch on the durability. So first, I have to say that I'm very happy to talk about that, because one of the most biggest problem we see in IT is to be aligned with the business. You may be familiar with this, where the business is coming and say, oh, I have a new request. That can be because of a new partnership, or because of a new client, or because of the competition is moving also, and the company has to react. And as an IT professional, it's really difficult to make sure and we can answer properly and in a fast way to any request. And most of the time, it's because of integration. So that's why it's sometimes important to just do a pause and see how we can improve the way we can react to the business by improving the way we integrate systems. So what means orchestration and integration? When we talk about integration, we talk about application integration, data integration, or API integration. We can see that usually orchestration is really in the middle. What it means is that whatever the integration request comes from, the orchestration can propose a good architectural answer to this request. And most of the time, integration means not only integration of technical systems, it also brings with some custom logic we need to input. Today, with AI features from everywhere, you can see also that it's very important to add AI capabilities, and sometimes human task, because you need, after the data is integrated between two systems, maybe someone needs to give a validation to that. So what best, if not a workflow to do so? So this is exactly what we're going to talk about right now. The need for integration is since the beginning of IT, I would say. Interoperability of systems or between organizations have always been a problem to solve. We talk about how to react in a rapid manner to business changes. It really comes into minutes right now. Like, we really need to have something when the request comes, it's always to be done for yesterday. So we don't have like the luxury to have a lot of time to think about it, do the implementation properly, because we are talking between different systems. It also means that we need to be able to bring new actors into the system when, and we're going to see that in a schema right after. So the challenge is also having different SDKs or languages or different platforms, different clouds, different operating systems, different applications, different data models. All of this becomes a challenge when it comes to integration. And of course, one of the big pieces, because the systems are in different places, is to make sure that everything and this integration is done in a secure manner. So the solution is to provide, as a platform as a service, this integration, and the orchestration would be at the heart of what we call iPaaS, meaning integration platform as a service. With this, we also provide distributed workflow, and that will give an architecture independence, like whatever it is between two counterparts. That won't be a problem if the workflow is in the middle. Let's illustrate that. Let's say that we are a solution provider and we need to serve with our solution multiple customers A, B, and C. Most of the time, having the solutions on our cloud is not enough. We need also to either propose the solution on-prem or to propose the solution to be installed in a private cloud for each customer. That can be different cloud providers as well. But it's not the end of the story, because each customer has its own customer and sometimes use our solution to provide an extended service to its own customers. And also is using some partners. It can be for CRM, it can be for anything. So how can we make sure that with all those different systems and data models and applications, we can provide the solutions that will fit everyone? If we add as well, because if we want our solutions to be even better, we can also have partners that could help us with their own things. What does it mean? It means not only the partner needs to install something in our solution, but also because of this architecture in place, to install in each customer. I don't tell you the nightmare it's going to be every time the partner needs to provide a new release or to fix a bug, or for the solution provider to do so. So using Conductor as an integration platform as a service can help that, because everything becomes now in the workflow, so that the workflow itself can address customer B, A, and C independently. Whatever they have, it can be using their own system, their own language, in their own premises. But also, having a new partner doesn't necessarily need the solution provider to integrate something in its own solution, but the partner can be as well as all the customers part of this ecosystem, because this is really what we are creating by doing this kind of architecture, is to create an ecosystem between your customers and your partners. It helps the partners, doesn't need even to understand your technology. The partner just do his own service the way he does it. The only thing he has to do is to be part of your workflow that you're going to be given to your customers. It even doesn't need to be whitelisted by your customers or anything like that. So let's see it in action. Let's take an example that we are an onboarding provider. By being an onboarding provider and doing dedicated workflow for managing the onboarding, we're going to say we're going to provide that to, let's say, different banks, bank A, B, and C, and each bank has its own system. One can use some CRM like Salesforce, for instance, and another one can use another CRM, whatever it is. But the workflow itself will be adapted to each bank. And in the second part, what we're going to say is we want to make a partnership with a legal provider who can, when there is a client that can be that needs to be onboarded, to verify what is his legal address and make sure that during the onboarding process we can set the proper legal address. So let's see that in action. I'm going to switch now my screen to the workflow definition that does the onboarding. As you can see, I have multiple tasks. The first will be to create an onboarding request. So that can be something that is just executed at the client side, and that will create in its CRM the request for an onboarding and save that information. But then, because this is what we are doing, we are also requesting documents. When those documents are sent back, so when the documents are received, we're going to check if the list of documents is correct or not. If it is correct, we accept the onboarding. Otherwise, we reject the onboarding. I, of course, oversimplified it. And then I update the onboarding request so it can go back to the customer and says, okay, we finished the onboarding. Now you have all the documents. You can proceed and start to offer your services. If I execute this workflow, I'm going to run. I'm going to say I want to onboard BNP Paribas, which is a bank in France. I'm going to, sorry, I need to save this first. I need to run my workflow. And with the refresh, I'm going to see everything is done. I received the document. So the onboarding is accepted and updated. Now I'm going to go back to the definition and I'm going to say, I have legal service to add. What the legal service does is really up to it. So I'm going to jump into a little code here and look at what is the execution of the task. So this is really a simple Java code. I took Java just for the sake of the example. I could have used Go or Python or JavaScript here. But what the check legal task does is receiving what is the entity, what is the country, and then output a result with a task completed. And in between, you can check really with some APIs or whatever you do if it is your own service. And here I'm going to retrieve, I'm going to say this is Boulevard des Italiens. Everything is hard-coded for the sake of the demo here. Let's go back to the definition now. And I'm going to add that task. So literally, if you have a partner that already developed this service, adding a worker, you saw the code, it's just a few lines of code. I'm going to say, when it is accepted here, what I want is to do, I'm going to say a worker task. And this, I'm going to call it check. So check legal. I'm going to do check legal entity. I'm going to generate that. I'm going to add two input parameters. One is the entity. I'm going to say it comes for the workflow input, that is the name that is given. And I'm going to add another one that is the country. So I can do the mapping here. This is one part of the integration issue and doesn't require any code. And I want here for input, I want the country. And that's it. I'm going to save it. Confirm that. And go back to my run. I'm going to ask, of course, the same thing. I'm going to run my workflow and refresh to see where we went. Check legal has now been executed. I can introspect, see the output, and see that I received the proper address. So as you can see, whatever the task was, in whatever language, whatever the data, I can do this integration in a very simple manner, in a very short period of time. It's just a question of minutes now. And I'm sure that I can do that with multiple partners. Proposing my technology is something also very, very easy because it requires just a few lines of code. So of course, that kind of use cases we can have a lot of them. Let's go back to the slide. So what we developed here is, first of all, a distributed architecture. Everything to work that has to work on the solution provider side works on the solution provider side. Everything that works on the client side works on the client side. Same for the partner. It's totally distributed here. And it makes it evolutive over time because you can add more partners, enrich your solution, and provide more and more to your clients and be very competitive. And last but not least, it is scalable. So whatever the number of clients you can have, this is going to scale for sure. This is the the first benefit that Conductor brings. New businesses need is acceptable without the need of re-architecturing the platform. So whatever you have a new client that say, oh yeah, but I'm not using Salesforce, I'm using something else, this is not a problem. Another very important benefit is the monitoring is at all levels, at the workflow level, at the task level. So you can check, for example, if there is a task that takes too much time, maybe this is a way to improve your onboarding process. So at the end, there is a big impact on the total cost of ownership. And you may know that the TCO, the way to calculate the TCO is not only on the time to implement, on the time to develop the solution, but the time to own the solution, meaning that 80% is on the maintenance. So I would like to finish this part by give you an invitation. And I would like you, if you want, if you're open to share your integration story with us. Of course, by using Conductor, we will give you swags, gift cards. We will help you to promote that on the social networks. So don't hesitate to reach out to us. You can reach out using our email, devrel@orkes.io, and we can start discussing. And but yeah, that's it. And I'm going to open the floor now for some questions. So one question from the crowd is to give a comparison between Orkes Conductor and AWS Step Function. Any function Conductor has, but Step does not. I would say the big difference is that all tasks that you can see in a workflow can be a step function or something else. So we are totally independent, and this independence is the main comparison we can give between Conductor and AWS Step Function. So it's more like complementary technologies than something that we compete with. Of course, you can build a total workflow using step functions, but you will just use one particular technology. And when it comes to integration, what you are looking for is really openness. Are there any? All right, so we have a couple of questions. Are there any guidelines with regards to worker and workflow design you can provide in any way? We often find ourselves with workflows that are too complex. That's right. And this is something we can also, work together because we have some kind of experience we can share with you. I would say you have some architectural design patterns that you can use. I can name like Saga pattern, for example, that can be very important, very interesting. But the design of the workflow is quite important. But if the design of your workflow is really too complex, that means that if you have to do so by code, your problem will be even worse here. So that's the first thing. The good thing is it is in a workflow, so you can act on it without re-architecturing everything. A workflow can be decoupled on sub workflows, and one sub workflow can be called by your main workflow. And so that's the first thing I can say. But it also depends on the use case that you have. So what I would say on that is to contact us, and we can help you to study your workflows and see why and in what way it is too complex, and how we can make it better from the experience that we have working with a lot of clients. Second questions. What kind of projects? Oh yeah, this is a question for a hackathon that will be made this year. So is it is it the question about how, in order to share our story, what kind of story we can share? Not sure to understand properly here. When it comes to sharing stories about integration, it's really open. What we would like to see is how you use Conductor and how Conductor help you to manage your integration problem here, and of course, and once again, we can help you to make that story shareable with everyone. But it can be for any. We have customers that are using Conductor as an integration platform for different industries. It can be in finance, as I showed during the demo, but it can be also in healthcare, in everything. So there is a question about, can you provide some examples of use cases for the business rule task? This is limited examples available in the sandbox environment. Yeah, that's true. So the business rules task is really something where you have, for when you need to execute a task that can rely on a lot of rules, right? So you can branch to some Excel spreadsheet that can run those rules and give the final calculation, and that's why it is a spreadsheet, because it helps to do the calculation, so you don't have to do it by code. And this is also sometimes, and for having worked a lot in the financial service industry, I can tell you that a lot of people on trading floor, they are using Excel spreadsheet every day to do their own calculations. So when that is the rules of how much can I invest in that particular market, it is limited by some rules. This is something you can inject as a task for your workflow. This is an example of the use case I can do. It can be for pricing as well, which is good, because when the pricing is changing, you just have to change the spreadsheet and everything is recalculated. Again, it's everything to extract from the code and put that as a parameter and wrapped into a task. Another one, how do you integrate task workers that are long running and not human, whereby the response is not written in real time, but you may need to fire and forget a task and later update the result? Yeah, that's a good use case actually, and this is something that can be done just by some parameters of the task. The task has parameters for the timeout, like you can wait for a certain number of time or a certain number of retry when the task cannot respond, or you can say it becomes optional, meaning like after a certain period of time, just that you continue the workflow and you forget that part. Or you can say I don't want to forget, and I really want the workflow to become in an error status because we reach a certain timeout. But this is really something that is just a parameter of the workflow itself.